Here.
Spiz,
Here.
Howell, Gingell, Luce.
Here.
You have quorum.
Thank you. Our first item is approving the agenda. There's one item on our agenda today. I have a motion by Commissioner Taylor and support from Commissioner Spiz. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Our agenda is approved. We move to our first public comment. This is for anything related to the item on our agenda, which is reassignment of Children's Village Medical Clinic Service Operations from Public Services to Health and Human Services. So if there's anyone from the public wishing to speak, you would come to the end of the table and state your name and community, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. Marvin Vaughn from Southfield, Michigan, also the president of the Union of the Nurses MAPE. For the agenda item, last week we was here and we was hoping that we could come back again this week and hopefully we can have a good resolution to what needs to happen. You know, there was a term called seamless that was thrown out last week. By me being the union president working with HR and labor, we have always been able to sit down at a table and fix whatever problem need to be fixed, help out whatever need to be helped out with. So when it came down to this, we felt really blindsided by the way they was presented to our nurses without the union representation being there with the nurses. Oakland County is pushing for everyone to have a union. So if this is what happens, what is the point of having a union? So we're just hoping that we can just continue to work with HR and labor and we go iron this out without our nurses' jobs being deleted, without our nurses' jobs being in jeopardy. These ladies have had tireless sleep for the last almost two and a half weeks over this problem. Back home at Trinity Village, every classification is saying, are we next? Are we next? So, because we always work great with HR and labor. So we're hoping that we can resolve everything today that would be beneficial for our nurses and for whatever the transition or whatever is looking to be done with. Because of course we don't want to lose our nurses, anything like that, but if there was a bigger plan in place, a great conversation would have been needed, could have been had, and we wouldn't have to be here today. So in saying everything, I know my nurses have a lot they still want to say and everything, and just make sure that we're able to continue to be in the Oakland County that we know that we are as they're working together. Because when you look at someone like me, I grew up in Oakland County, from Pontiac to Southfield, all over. And one thing about working at the county we always knew is you always had a secure job at the county. You never had to worry about your job being in jeopardy if you work at the county. That's why the county hire quality people, because the county is a quality employer. We just want to stand firm on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next?
You can go ahead.
Is this to speak on the item on the agenda?
No, I was just gonna sit over here.
Well, I know, Mr. Love has lots of things to say, and I'm sure he will, but just a little bit.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Sean Miller from Springfield Township. I'm once again advocating for this committee to reject the proposed transition of the Children's Village nurses to Health and Human Services, or to at least make it a transfer rather than a termination, and to grandfather in the ADN nurses. Forcing qualified, experienced nurses to reapply for their jobs, particularly when there have not been any accusations of misconduct or poor performance, doesn't just defy logic. It is the epitome of government inefficiency. In addition, suddenly requiring these nurses who have been doing this job and doing it well for decades to obtain a bachelor's degree in 18 months is not only unfair, but unrealistic. An ADN to BSN program can be completed in 18 months, but that is an accelerated program where the student devotes nearly all their waking hours to their studies. It would be unrealistic to expect a nurse working full-time to be able to do that. Moreover, the financial challenge would be insurmountable. Commissioner Woodward last week suggested that the county should explore paying the tuition cost. The job duties will not be changing. The scope of care will not be changing. Why should the county waste taxpayer dollars on tuition when the degree will be of no benefit to the employee or the county? Ms. Tariq and Ms. Stafford sat before you last Tuesday and acted as though their offer for these nurses to obtain a bachelor's degree in 18 months was some magnanimous gesture that should be applauded, despite neither of them being nurses or knowing what it takes to obtain a BSN. Nothing they said last week demonstrates any legitimate justification for this requirement. No child has been harmed by the fact that the nurses don't have a BSN. In fact, you heard testimony last week that 3 staff members at Children's Village are alive today against all odds because Children's Village nurses reacted quickly to a life-threatening situation. Again, I ask, if these nurses are good enough to do the job today, why aren't they good enough to do it tomorrow? Who is going to train the nurses hired to replace them? The county could easily grandfather in the existing nurses while applying the degree requirement to new hires. Michigan, like much of the country, is already struggling with a critical shortage of nurses, and public health agencies are no exception to that. These nurses have decades of hands-on experience and a deep understanding of the population they serve. Experience, dedication, and competence matter far more than any specific degree. Unless you work in Children's Village, you cannot possibly understand the unique challenges these nurses face, nor the unique medical and emotional needs of the children in their care. These nurses have built trust with these kids, many of whom already don't trust adults, and especially adults in the medical field. These kids don't just need medical professionals. They need trusted adults that they know who provide a consistent presence in an environment where consistency is rare. As I said last week, this is a decision that lacks common sense, compassion, and foresight. It does not strengthen Children's Village, it weakens it. It does not improve care, it disrupts it. And more importantly, it does not reflect the values that Oakland County should stand for. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment? Yes.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing me to speak again. My name is Tracy Tuning, and I am a full-time registered nurse at Children's Village. I want to speak to you today regarding a statement that was made by Ms. Tariq during the March 11th Public Health and Safety meeting. Ms. Tariq stated, and I quote, "Last year, a few months ago, some concerns had been brought to me about the clinical standard of care at Children's Village. So we actually had public health nurses and our clinical team present in Children's Village looking at the clinical care and making sure that all standard operating procedures are being implemented," end quote. That was the first time the Children's Village nurses had heard anything about these allegations or reported concerns. What were the concerns? How did these concerns come to Ms. Tariq's attention? When did the public health nurses and the clinical team come to Children's Village? Who did they meet with? What were their findings? Were any recommendations made to change the current standing orders, care plans, or daily practices? Not one nurse, including our nursing supervisor, is aware of any team of public health nurses or clinical team coming to Children's Village for any type of review or investigation. How can the clinical care and SOP implementation be reviewed without speaking to the very staff that provide this care every day? Ms. Tariq repeatedly referred to needing to ensure the safety of the children, not wanting to wait for some sort of tragedy, lawsuit, and even stated, and I quote, "We want to make sure we are not having a situation where a child's life is in danger," end quote. Where is this coming from? I again reiterate, there has been no licensing violations, no litigation cases involving the CV Medical Unit. To my knowledge, there has been no disciplinary action on any Children's Village nurse related to the medical care being provided to the residents at Children's Village. Furthermore, during the February 28th meeting, Chad Trussler from MAPE Union officially asked Ms. Calcaterra, the Children's Village manager, if she had any concerns about the care being provided to the CV residents, and she replied, no, not at all. In fact, over the years, Ms. Calcaterra has repeatedly said, thank God for the nurses, referring to the medical care and thorough documentation the nurses provide after numerous reviews and investigations by the state. During that same meeting on February 28th, one of our fellow nurses asked if there had been any wrongdoings or complaints brought against the nurses, and Mr. Klempner replied, not that he was aware. There is simply no basis for these reckless statements and allegations, and it is simply being used as a scare tactic to pressure a yes vote on this proposed reassignment. Oakland County's values includes respect for people as individuals and transparency. Our own leaders have not demonstrated these values in regards to this proposed reassignment. The respectful and transparent approach would have been to have held an informational meeting where all CV nurses and the MAPE union were invited to attend and presented with honesty and transparency. The proposed plan.
Ms. Chewing, your 3 minutes are up.
Okay, can I wrap up?
You have 10 seconds.
Okay, in closing, I urge all of you to ask yourself why the leadership is not being transparent with you, and I ask that you reject this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Mallory Robeck, a resident of Waterford and a full-time registered nurse at Children's Village. I want to express my concerns about the agenda item related to the reassignment of Children's Village medical service operations. The potential ramifications of this reassignment are profoundly unsettling. Dissolving the positions of dedicated unionized nurses who have consistently received outstanding job performance evaluations sets a troubling precedent for unionized workers throughout Oakland County. If approved, nurses will lose their jobs and must reapply under new requirements mandating a BSN. This disqualifies nurses who have hold only an associate degree, despite BSN and ADN nurses being equally qualified to provide care. Personally, I'll complete my BSN program in a few weeks, having invested $18,846 in over 3 years of time, much longer than the 18 months proposed. I researched BSN programs comparing U of M, Eastern, Oakland, Chamberlain, and WGU. The total cost for these programs ranges from $10,000 to $31,000, covering only the BSN program itself. For most nurses, placement tests and general ed courses must be completed before even starting their BSN, leading to additional costs and time. The county's tuition reimbursement only offers $1,400 per semester and a total of $4,200 maximum for the year, which would not cover the cost of a BSN. This is a tremendous financial strain to put on nurses that have dedicated years of their life to the county and youth of Children's Village. I also contacted several hospitals in the area, including Trinity Health, McLaren, DMC Children's, and U of M Health. None of these hospitals require their nurses to have a BSN, nor do they mandate that RNs sign a contract agreeing to obtain a BSN within a specific time frame anymore. When inquiring why, I was informed that the national nursing shortage makes it too challenging to fill the nursing positions. While BSNs may be the preferred education level, they are not mandatory for local hospitals. Before my hiring, my CV position remained unfilled for over 2 years. This raises concerns about the future of filling these reassignment roles now requiring a BSN. Oakland County's inclusion statement affirms we value the unique perspectives and experiences each individual brings to our team and are dedicated to fostering an inclusive, supportive workplace. When hired, I genuinely believed this was upheld. My recent experiences have left me questioning its authenticity. As the elected county commissioners, I urge you to affirm that Oakland County upholds its inclusion statement. Please consider all the information discussed on this item. Instead of proceeding with the elimination and reassignment, I ask this item be voted against, and I encourage us dedicated nurses to continue serving in our roles. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Rebecca Buckner, and I'm a full-time registered nurse at Children's Village. One of the points of discussion that was brought up by Ms. Stafford and Ms. Tariq at the Public Health and Safety Committee meeting on March 11th was that there's a plan for the kids to continue to work with public health nurses outside of Children's Village, and also that these community health workers will continue to connect with these families with the goal being to reduce recidivism back at Children's Village. In their words, That's what we ultimately want for the kids, them to have the health and safety they need to thrive and hopefully not end up back in Children's Village. This sounds great in theory, but the idea that this transition will have any impact on recidivism is not based on fact. The facts are that Honor Community Health has 21 community health centers in Oakland County. These include health clinics in Pontiac Middle and High School, Avondale High School, and Waterford Durant High School, the schools that a large percentage of our children attend. They also have a dental clinic and mobile bus. Children can get care at these clinics for free, and they don't even have to be a student to be seen there. These children have had access to medical care after they have been released for the past 10 years that Honor has been in place, and they will continue to be able to go to these clinics that are right in their own schools and communities. We have seen firsthand that they do utilize these clinics, yet they still return to Children's Village. According to a report from the Office of Justice Systems Analysis, the top risk factors for recidivism are mental health, substance abuse, behavior problems at school, educational handicaps and performance, household characteristics, family environment, and relations with parents. Did you notice that not a single of these reasons are related to medical? How can they lead you to believe that this transition may reduce recidivism when none of the risk factors are related to medical? In fact, the highest risk for recidivism is related to educational handicaps and performance at 92%. Did you know that 85% of juveniles involved in the court system are functionally low literate? If it's Oakland County's goal to reduce recidivism, why are we not focusing on where the problems actually lie? Children's Village also has a reentry team already in place. Their entire job is to make sure they have resources in place as they return to the community. This process starts immediately upon the child being placed in a residential program and continues well after their release back into the community. I can sit and read you facts and studies all day, but all of us that actually know and work with this population know this. The reasons these children return to Children's Village are not related to medical. So how will this transition help? I am also requesting that you table this reassignment until all questions are answered and a plan is in place and put in writing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I was here last week, but I didn't have a chance to introduce myself. Good morning, my name is Jennifer Newman. I am from Clarkston. I have been a registered nurse for 32 years. I have probably dedicated 26 years of working full-time here in Oakland County as a correctional health nurse. My first 5 years of nursing were under my ADN. My last 27 years were with my BSN. My nursing responsibilities, duties, and scope of practice did not change after obtaining my BSN. I have provided contingent coverage for Macomb and Livingston counties as they have experienced long-term nursing vacancies in their correctional health care settings, as correctional health care is an expertise and hard to find. I was a nurse educator for Baker College School of Nursing for their ADN program. I am very familiar with the academia application of the ADN BSN curriculum and its application in the nursing realm. It is not applicable to the Children's Village setting. My family has strong ties and a deep loyalty to Oakland County. Our foundation began in the Sheriff's Department. My husband is a second-generation deputy currently serving his 27th year for the Sheriff's Department. My father-in-law, retired Captain Mark Newman, served 37 years for Oakland County Sheriff's Office. Prior to his official retirement in 21, he was appointed by Al Brooks Patterson as Director of Public Service and also served under our current Dave Coulter. Oakland County is home to many of our family members, and it has been a place to work that has been full of pride. My nursing career began here in '94 at the jail under Sheriff Nichols. At that time, us nurses were considered health department nurses. After Sheriff Nichols' passing and Sheriff Bouchard was elected, us nurses transitioned from the health division to the Sheriff's Department. This transition was communicated to us openly, and it was transparent. We did not have to reapply for our job. We remained employed. We did not lose our wages. We did not change unions. We did not lose our seniority. The transition was smooth. 2012, Sheriff Bouchard privatized the jail health clinic. HR and labor relations worked very closely with us. The nurses were transferred. We were not terminated. In the worst of times of a privatization, we were valued, and we were well taken care of. Unfortunately, that is not the current milieu that we are experiencing as county employees. Oakland County is fortunate to have us nurses. We are not easy to find. We are not replaceable by BSNs who do not have a passion for this environment. This side of nursing is certainly not glamorous. We understand the value of our worth, and now we realize that this is not being reflected by our administrators despite our outstanding work performance, our remarkable employee evaluations, and most recently, a salary increase that we did not propose. I personally feel these are very sad days to be sitting here as county employees in front of our own commissioners, trying to convince you why we should be retained.
Who's got the phone?
It's not a phone, it's the timer. It's 3 minutes, it's a timer for 3 minutes, so you have 10 seconds.
It's a pleasant
to wrap
ride.
up.
I'm asking you that you grandfather us in and that you do the right thing and that we deserve what we have already earned, which is our careers.
Thank you.
Oh, time's up.
Short.
Good morning. My name is Yvonne Miller. I'm from Clarkston, District 8. As I mentioned last week in our meeting, I've been a registered nurse for 31 years. I started here in the county in 2002 at the Oakland County Medical Care Facility. When they privatized, I transitioned smoothly to the Oakland County Jail under the Sheriff's Office. When they privatized, I transferred to Children's Village in 2011. And again, I was under the Department of Human Services. My RN license has never been in question. I am a licensed associate RN. I took the same board exam as the BSN nurse, and we hold the same license, abilities, and skills. I believe my assessment skills are on par with those of any BSN nurse. If a part-time registered nurse with an associate degree can reapply to work at Children's Village, then why can't a full-time RN with an associate degree do the same and grandfathered in? To my knowledge, no child has ever died at Children's Village, and there has never been any litigation involving medical unit nurses. My last three evaluations have been perfect, yet I am at risk of being removed. I would like to remain an Oakland County employee because I love what I do. I love where I work and I love the children that we serve. I request that the proposed agenda item be voted against due to the many unanswered questions surrounding it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Shannon Hahn. I'm from Oxford, Michigan. During the last meeting, it was mentioned that a team from the health department visited Children's Village. However, we do not recall any team coming to observe us. The only person that came over to our facility was Kate Guzman, who visited us once a week for a couple of hours in the afternoon. Minimal involvement with day-to-day operation. Also, why can't we collaborate with the health department without being part of the health department? Or can't we be a separate entity under the health department? Public health nursing is very different from juvenile corrections nursing. As a nurse, we can implement any order from any provider for our residents at Children's Village. We also already collaborate with Oakland County Health Department with vision screenings, immunizations, dental hygienist, and currently they are doing weekly education classes with our residents. Additionally, we were told that they hired an NP that started last Monday. This is not true. The NP that is covering CV was hired in 2023, and the job posting for the NP position is still up on the county website. They are hoping this temporarily covering will turn into a full-time position and she will stay at Children's Village. I genuinely enjoy working with the residents at Children's Village and value the work that we do here. It's hard to believe that we cannot be grandfathered into our current positions. Please reject the reassignment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Kevin Filter from Waterford, Michigan. I'm currently a employee at Children's Village. I'm here for the support of the nurses and to also read a letter sent from a former nurse. She is Maureen P. Tippin, RN, MS, Emerita, Clinical Associate Professor, University of Michigan Flint. Dear Oakland County Board of Commissioners, I am writing in response to the recent proposal for the professional nursing staff at Children's Village to reapply for their current jobs. I am a retired clinical professor of nursing at the University of Michigan Flint, and I also worked at Children's Village as a staff nurse per diem for 10 years, retiring in 2023. I can speak firsthand about my relationship with the nurses, the level of competence both clinically and professionally for the residents they serve in their roles as a registered nurse. I also worked as a public health nurse at the beginning of my career. These are different jobs with different skill sets needed. The Children's Village nurses demonstrate nursing clinical competencies, critical thinking, health promotion, disease management, critical disease management, nursing leadership, and advocacy for this vulnerable population. The nurses should be grandfathered into their positions for many reasons that have already been communicated in the Board of Commissioners meeting last week. It would be a grave mistake to disrupt the nursing care of this vulnerable population. I urge you to reconsider this proposal. I also like to add, working with the nurses going on now 11 years. The job they perform requires immense patience, care, and love for the kids that we deal with. Many have not had chances so far in life. And it would be a grave mistake to let them go because they are really good and they care and they love these kids. You know, I don't know what else to say, but they deserve everything that they have for us. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning, I should say. I'm Bob Hoffman, your loyal and humble servant. And first of all, I support transferring these employees to the health department. I think the health department does a good job. But they're asking us to solve a problem that they've never described what the problem is. And every time you do something, there's unintended consequences. And I think what you're going to do, we all sit around here talking about how much we support the employees, but ultimately we're gonna hurt the morale. And what message are we sending to the other employees? If they can do this over here, eliminate your job and tell you to reapply for it? I think that's entirely wrong, and I am adamantly opposed to that. So anyway, I hope you all come together on this, and I think there's a kinder, gentler way to do this without upsetting the apple cart. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Love, on this nurse deal, I don't understand it. We're running out of money, or what's the reason for even doing this to the people that are serving currently? They gotta pay for Coulter Towers down in Pontiac, is that what the deal is? I mean, this is just dumb. I don't know what these other people talk about, but I'm just shocked to even learn about it. Get a life.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment? Seeing none, public comment is closed. So we move on to our agenda item, which is reassignment of Children's Village Medical Clinic service operations from Public Services to Health and Human Services. I would entertain, I have a motion by Commissioner Powell and support from Commissioner Taylor. So we have Leanne Stafford and Medea and Barb Hankey here to address this issue once again.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for giving us the time to bring this up again. I want to actually start on a fresh note today. I think there's lots of things that need to be clarified, and I want to try to set that up, and then they'll give you more details. First of all, I want to make it clear that when we spoke to HR and labor about this, we were given multiple options. I think that wasn't made clear in the last meeting. We were given the option of, we discussed the option of transfer, we discussed the option of reapplying, we discussed even like if they didn't leave, right? All those options were discussed. The factors that went into making this decision was the nurses themselves and making sure what the best transition for them is, the care and the acuity of the children that we serve. And I want to elevate that because we have spoken at length about how this affects nurses, but I want to bring up the fact that we're here to serve children that have an increasingly high acuity. The 60+ children that are at Children's Village deserve this conversation. So I'm really glad that we're able to meet again and discuss this. And then the third piece, and the second thing I'll say is, it's become abundantly clear to me sitting through the public comment and hearing the nurses, and I want to tell you, we hear you, okay? We hear you, and we really went back and discussed what we should do based on what we heard last time. But this reiterates the fact that the fragmented clinical and hierarchical structure that we have worked in up to now is not viable. Obviously, things we are trying to do are not being seen as the same with you all. We're seeing the same issue differently. So this actually reiterates the fact that we really need to look at the fragmented clinical structure in which we operate. And then again, when we are looking at these things, we also have to remember you all have seen, forget about me, I'm new to the game, right? But Leanne and Barb have been leaders in this county for decades. They have been recognized nationally and in our state. Oakland County Health Department is considered the best in the state. Barb has gotten, national recognition for what she has done in the justice space. So I'm really asking you all to hear them out, to listen to what they have, proposed, and to really trust in their leadership as folks that you selected and we selected to lead this space. So with that, I'm gonna give it over to Barb and Leanne to kind of go over and hopefully clarify all of the concerns that you have raised.
Thank you, Medea. So Barb Hankey, I'm the Director of Public Services, under which Children's Village currently falls, as well as Community Corrections, which is now Pretrial Justice Services, the Medical Examiner's Office, and the Animal Shelter. So I just want to talk a little bit about how this came about and why we are asking to transition here. So just about maybe over a year ago, there were some clinical concerns that were brought to Children's Village administration. And so we started to explore those concerns. I admittedly am not a health person. I know lots about justice impacted, but I don't know anything in the medical and health division. And so Heather Calcaterra, who's the current manager, and I discussed it. We conferred with Medea, and we decided to ask Kate Guzman, who at that time was the supervisor of clinical services for the health department, to come over and take a look and at what was going on in the Children's Village Clinic. Kate did come over for a few months, spent time in the back with the nurses to observe what was going on, but was also going through all of our policies and procedures and protocols. From that, there was a dismissal of the supervisor of the nurses. Several of our standard operating procedures were rewritten. They continue to be reviewed and rewritten. So during the time that this was going on, we also learned that Honor Health was going to not renew their contract with us. And so we thought it was a good time to look at the overall structure, and that it would be a good time to move the nurses into the health department so that there could be this continuum of care, and so that we wouldn't find ourselves in the same position. There were, and I won't go into detail because it is a personnel matter, but there were several shortcomings, and it did place the county in a position of liability because those policies and procedures had been lacking.
Okay, all right, so just a little bit of what we're doing. We talked about this at the last meeting, but just as we kind of wanted to start, we're looking at bringing over 21 positions is what will be created. The nursing supervisor, which is currently there, she meets all the qualifications to continue to be a public health nursing supervisor. We're looking at 6 full-time public health nurse 3 positions, and 14 PT&E public health 2 positions. As well as we're asking for 1 auxiliary health work to help with some of the management of documents and things like that, so that's not always put on the nurses moving forward. While we're going through this process, everyone at Children's Village will continue to operate. Our goal is to post the position in-house, interview, and hire by May 1st. So as we talked about last time, the sunset date for these positions is July 1st. We will have a good understanding in a month on how we're moving forward. And another thing is internal nurses will have priority, of course. That is our first guarantee moving forward. We did talk about the 18 months. I heard the nurses say that's not doable, right, with full-time jobs. A couple people mentioned that. We went back. So the request is 18 months with an extension if they are enrolled. So again, it's not going to be necessarily be completed in 18 months. We heard that, and understanding that they're full-time positions, but as long as they're enrolled, an extension will be provided. The other options, if they don't want to move into the health division or continue to work at Children's Village under the health division, there are a couple opportunities. We have held 2 positions in the health division. They would not be working at Children's Village, but they would be in other positions as public health nurse 2s. So if they don't want to pursue their BSNs, we are trying to find a landing place for every single person in these positions here. There's also opportunities at Children's Village, right, as youth specialists. Not saying I recommend that, but there are other opportunities here. The one thing I think is very important to hear is when these nurses become part of the health division team, they become part of a Michigan Nurses Union. They're supported by other nurses in this union. They also have access to training and growth opportunities. Our nurses at the health division, under leadership of Kate Guzman, and unfortunately she's trying to do double duty right now, but she was able to make it on with us. The opportunities and training that they have are not like any other areas. We bring trainings in-house, and a nurse, last meeting, they talked about that they do not receive any training nowadays, right? That can't happen, right? We need to continue to provide opportunity and training as we move forward, and they would be part of that training. There's been questions about BSNs, right? We don't need BSNs, we do need BSNs, but I think the important part to recognize here is the level of autonomy that happens for a nurse in this area where there's not a doctor present at 100% necessitates a higher level degree nurse. It's an individual that's gone through the training that has learned to do proactive, high quality care. We understand that it is at a very different area, but they need to be able to make quick decisions and be able to take care of these things without a day-to-day doctor present. So
It really, I think the work that we've done here with the nurses, if we kind of walk through some of that, is we've worked very closely with Labor, HR, and Court Counsel about this. This isn't something we decided upon in 2 days. There have been meetings upon meetings upon meetings. We did notify the nurses of the changes that were coming on February 19th. Labor Relations, Health and Human Services, and Public Services sat down for a very lengthy meeting with the union about their concerns. And we listened, right? We listened to what their concerns were. Multiple times, Tim Martin has been at Children's Village there to answer questions, not 1 shift, but 2 shifts. No one has showed up so far to ask questions. March 10th, Labor Relations sent the employees the letter talking about what their opportunities were. We were asked to wait and not send that letter because the union wanted to talk to their individuals. Again, we heard you about the BSN. I heard, again, I'm not a person that just takes and does stuff. I research it, I make sure, and so we went back and we looked at each individual opportunity. That's why we're gonna offer the possible extension. We also are, and I mentioned this, these 2 positions. These 2 positions that are in the health division, we need to fill them, right? We have a lot of responsibility, but we also wanna give an opportunity for nurses that maybe don't get the position as a public health nurse 3 to have a landing spot in the health division if that's necessary. So,
I mean, all I'll say is that, knowing, I've worked with Barb and Leanne and these teams for 2 years now, and knowing them, I know that they care for their teams. In fact, I think half of the agenda of every meeting that we have is about team growth. We have done, as you all know, we have invested in creating a culture of growth and inclusiveness across the county. We are actively doing that right now in Children's Village. The juvenile justice space is something that is evolving every single day. We are seeing more and more high acuity kids in our space. We also have to think about all of the culture changes that are happening, but this change is necessary. It is necessary because those kids, they deserve this. They are some of the most vulnerable kids that are under our supervision. And what I'm asking you right now is to support a decision that makes sure that we give the kids the care that they deserve, and also understand that we are providing multiple ways to support these nurses. This has to be done. This is how we provide the best possible care. If we were to just stay, I'll just say this, if we were to just stay at Children's Village, we have to invest in getting a new medical director there and a new nurse practitioner. And guess what? That is, I've heard this mentioned here before, taxpayer dollars. That is not a good use of our taxpayer dollars. We already have a medical director and a nurse practitioner that can do this work. But we're asking that you listen to the health department and listen to our team and the standard of care that we're trying to implement. Thank you.
I understand the process of moving from public services to health under the health department. And your plan would include deleting 18 positions and creating 21 positions. I remain adamant that I would like to see our present employees maintain their seniority benefits with a transfer and not reapply to the health department. And I will open it up for other commissioners' responses. Commissioner Powell.
So with that question, is that not happening?
They would be interviewing for their positions.
Is their seniority, all that they're starting over?
Their seniority in M&A would stay, they are not in MATE, but they would be moving to M&A with their continued seniority in M&A between themselves.
Okay, that's kind of, that's, and my brain is not connected. Yeah, please, yeah, my brain ain't clicking, understanding that. So as a nurse, if I got 10 years in, right now in my current position.
I'll stand.
No, you fine, I'm good. If I'm a nurse, excuse me, everybody, if I'm a nurse and I got 10 years under the current position,
Yeah.
and now I go and reapply for the newer position, does it start year 1 or does it start year 11? Like you know what I mean? I'm just trying to figure that out. Thank you.
Irrespective of whether they're transferred or are a successful candidate that is ultimately interviewed and provided a position, they will retain their county seniority. That's important for a couple things. That's how county employees accrue, annual. That's oftentimes how they get priority for days off or vacation. The only seniority that they would not retain is the seniority that they have accumulated in MAPE. They would be going to a different union, so that may alter it, but it is a very limited use of that new seniority. The more important one, the county seniority, will be retained, absolutely.
Okay.
All their current pay, their wages, their benefits will be status quo. They won't default back to their rookie year or anything like that.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And then my other question is, be it that we're requiring them to go back to school to get the BS in that, the bachelor's?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Who paying for that? Is that a part of our program that we do have for our people to go back to school and we take care of that? Or is that something that's gonna be put on the employees to pay for their schooling?
Yeah, so, and I believe that this board is aware that we recently did a mayor rule update increasing the tuition reimbursement. They would be eligible for that. It is up to, oh man, this is gonna stretch my memory, but I believe up to $52-ish hundred per year. If it's anything more than that, then it becomes a tax implication of the employee. We wanted to avoid that. So they can use that and the rest of it, the balance, they would be responsible for.
And do they get okay, never mind. Thank you. That's all I need. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Gershenson?
Well, thank you, and I just want us to be cognizant of the fact that we have guests at 9:30, so. But I wasn't at the last meeting, but I did watch it. And I was a little shocked by a few things that were said. And I'm gonna repeat them, that there is no difference between an associate degree and an RN, that it is just a piece of paper and it is not important, that it's a meaningless checkbox. I couldn't disagree more. A 4-year nursing degree and a 2 years associate's degree are different. I'm an educator. I have tremendous respect for teaching assistants, for physician's assistants, and I would utilize them. But when it comes to our children's health that we're responsible for, I want the highest level of care. I spoke to a doctor. I just wanted her opinion on it. She validated how important and respectful experience is, and that must be considered. Their experience is so valuable. Not saying a person with a 4-year degree is smarter than a person with a 2-year degree, but the educational background is important for us as commissioners who are responsible for these kids. Bob Hoffman, you said you haven't heard the why. The why is that our deputy, Ms. Tariq, was engaged over a year ago that there are problems. We're not articulating those problems, but that's what started the chain of events. I understand that the supervisor has been dismissed, so the way the communication flowed is problematic, and I think everybody can admit to that it hasn't been handled in the best way. But problems have been identified. And I don't understand, if you're confident in your abilities, reapplying, being interviewed again should not be a threat. It should be an opportunity for you to say, I am qualified and this is why. So I've known Barb Hankey, Leanne Stafford for a long time. I respect their take on this and I do support it.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Anyone else?
Yes, with all due.
Let me go with Commissioner Spiz and we'll come back.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just so I can understand clearly, and then maybe everybody else in the room can understand clearly, can you please walk me through the exact process these 19 individuals would have to go through to meet what you're looking for? I think I understand, but I wanna be 100% sure I understand.
Yeah, why don't you do it, Leanne, because you
Okay.
just did it.
So help me if I say it right.
Yeah.
Right, we'll do this together then. Okay. So we will post the positions internally first, right? And so our team at Health will do the interviews. If they apply for the position, we will interview them.
Okay, can I I'm gonna ask questions as you go. So if they do not apply, what happens to them?
They can choose another position, right, that we have, and HR or Labor Relations will work through what that process looks like. Like I said, we have a public health nurse 2 position
Right.
in the health
So what
division
if-
that they could
what if
apply
they
for.
don't feel comfortable with any of those positions that are open that you have posted? What happens to them?
So if it goes all the way to the mat, they remain in place until the position is sunsets, eliminated, I believe it's 7/11. They then have the option to process we call bumping through the union based on their seniority. They could bump into a different position that's available, provided that they're qualified, and it's a cascading effect. So then that person would bump into a position that bumps the current occupant of that position out, and down we go. So there is a landing spot should they choose to go that route. Ideally, our office and another individual would likely look to place them in the most suitable, comfortable spot that is available in the county, if they don't wanna go the bump route.
Okay, sorry, go ahead. Sarah.
Okay, so then, once we either, like I said, our goal is by May 1st, right, that all of these decisions will be made. And then we would post them to the outside if we had any vacant positions left out of the 6. And then we would start to interview and hire for any vacant positions out of the full-time 6. As well as some of the part-time positions, because we know there are vacant part-time positions right now,
So can somebody help me understand what's the benefit or the difference in doing the way you're doing it, you're describing doing it just now, versus just a straight up transfer?
Well, if we're doing it the way that we are recommending now or requesting, is that our team in Health and Human Services gets an opportunity to have a conversation with each of these nurses to understand what they're about, what their nursing standard is, if we feel like they can be trained to our expectation as a public health nurse. Right now, I mean, my team hasn't had that opportunity, and as part of the interview, that's where we find the right people to fit in these positions.
And I'll just also say, a transfer means that they transfer, and then the only way this assessment is happening is through the 60-day probation period. So in my.
6 months.
6 months, whatever, sorry, old job situation stuck in my head. So through the probation period, right? So then, I mean, in my opinion, that's like setting up the team for failure. You know, what if, like, do we want to have them in a situation where you put them somewhere, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you put them there and then in 6 months, we don't know what's gonna happen to them, right? But this way, we have the interview up front. It is way ahead of when the positions sunset. We have the time to plan and make sure that there's a soft landing spot for everyone.
Can you help me understand the 6-month probationary period then, that you just mentioned? Is that with the transfer? Or is that with the interview? Because I would normally expect that with a new interview for a new position, that would be a 6-month probationary period versus a transfer.
Yeah, it is a new position, so it is 6-month probation
So
for
when
both of these.
they apply for this new position, they would have a 6-month probationary period, and if something didn't work out, you would have to move them somewhere else.
Correct. No health care. Ask them, do they have health?
Right, I think I'm good for now.
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Hoffman?
With all due respect, Commissioner Kirshenson, I'm happy to hear they identified the problem. I'm happy they eliminated the position or the person who was causing the problem. But you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Why would you get rid of, I never do this in my business, I can't imagine anybody doing it, get rid of 19 positions of people, dedicated people doing the job, and make them reapply for the job they're already doing? It doesn't connect. I just think it's a terrible mistake we're doing, and honest to God, I'll take experience any day over a 4-year degree.
Thank you. Commissioner Gershon?
Can I call for the vote of this committee because of the time? And then it will continue in caucus or on the floor?
I haven't heard from everybody on this board yet, so I'd like to take a couple of minutes, and I agree, our board meeting starts at 9:30, so Commissioner Cavell?
Thank you. I just wanted to lift up, there's no budget amendment to this. So I just wanna make sure that as we go through this transition, we ensure that there's, as you said, the care and acuity of the children is paramount. The training is somewhat wanting, so there's no need for funds to make sure that the quality of care is maintained or improved. Or that there's training like TTS or social determinants of health or anything. You don't need any money to make sure that this transition is smooth. Just wanna reiterate that.
We will come back to you. Right now, we're in the process of assessing Children's Village. As you all know, we invested ARPA dollars to actually assess Children's Village. We wanna come back with an informed answer on what exactly we would want to help improve, but that's about Children's Village as a whole. So because we recognize the duty of care, thank you for elevating that.
I have Commissioner Long.
I'm sorry, I have to speak really quick. As a registered nurse, just let me speak. Bob spoke twice.
I understand, so if they're speaking as part of the meeting, we're crossing to a majority of the caucus, which then I have to get the clerk down here to take the minutes.
It's majority.
Say,
All right, I'll speak in public comment after we're done.
I
I know, but I'm the only one qualified here out of the whole board. I'm a registered nurse. That doesn't speak.
I'm the only one.
So now can I
We have
call for a
10 people. I have one more person I'd like to hear from the union person.
Chris Belling, Michigan Association of Public Employees. I would like to ask, so it took 2 years to fill that young lady's position, which was the last position. So if we delete their positions and we put it out to the public to come in and fill these spots, it took 2 years to fill hers. Come 7/11, what are we going to do when we don't fill these created spots that we deleted them? And then we create positions. What are we gonna do when we don't fill them? Who's gonna be nurses there?
I'm sorry, I think that's a misrepresentation of what's happening because this is exactly why we're creating the spots. The whole idea is assess the current team and fit them in the right places. So it's not, I think that's the problem here. We are seeing that we're deleting spots and like throwing them out into the world and then bringing them back. That's not what's happening.
I think there's also a much simpler response to that. It's you're saying there's no competition. So if there's no competition, your members will land safely in the spots they're in.
But why are we recreating positions that already exist is my question. Why would we delete them, make them reapply for a job that they are currently doing and they're doing it well?
Because they're not under my leadership. I mean, under my leadership, I expect a different level of assessment. And I think our team, if we are going to acquire these positions, which I think we've provided an ample amount of reasons why it should come to the health division, then my team under Health and Human Services should get an opportunity to interview these individuals to make sure that they fit our assessment requirements.
Thank you. So now we will vote. Would you prompt the vote, please?
Okay, so the vote is to support the reassignment.
Correct.
Correct?
Reassignment, deletion and the creation.
Get your e-vote, Charlie, at the bottom. Maybe it ain't. Get your e-vote.
It's at the top. That's the e-vote.
Or at the top, whichever one, e-vote.
The big blue button.
There's two there, four.
6 yeas to 2 nays. All right, motion is carried for the reassignment of Children's Village Medical Clinical Service Operations from Public Services and Health and Human Services. So we have arrived at our last public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to comment on anything?
I'll be brief because I know we're really late. Christine Long, County Commissioner, and you folks know that I am a registered nurse and I have my BSN. Not to say that makes it, that's just where I chose to go in life. But one of my thing that was making me almost jump out of my seat is when they said, and I get it, it's a different department, but to say that they have to assess all the nurses now. Okay, in the private sector, you get assessed every year. It's called the evaluation. When you do something wrong, you're written up.
is the county. Shame on you. Shame on you if stuff happened in that public health department in Children's Village and it wasn't evaluations. To say they have to be evaluated to apply for a new job now, so you just let a few unsafe nurses keep working there? There's evaluations, there's standards, you go through it. If you don't pass your evaluations, you know what you do? In the private world, you get fired. They should be fired if there are problems. There shouldn't be this reapplying for safe nurses. They should already be safe. They're qualified. I've never heard of such a thing. And for someone to be 55 years old and say you have to go get your bachelor's, come on. I mean, they're pretty much going, and I personally recommend you guys going out to the private sector. You'll get paid more. You guys get paid less than I did in 1991 at U of M Hospital. You get, your union, sorry, stinks. It has for 23 years. They do nothing for you. It should have never came this far without your union representing you. I don't understand it. I'm really mad. I'm not voting for it. I won't vote for it. It seems like it's gonna pass, but I'm very sorry because there should have been evaluations throughout. When you're working, you get evaluations from your head nurse. Well, we used to call them head nurse, but I'm old. So head nurse, you did it every year and they go into file. And if there's problems, you got fired. So I don't get how it got this far that we have to reassess to make sure they're all qualified to move on to another department. They should have already been assessed when they're working here.
Thank you.
You know, I'm disappointed in the vote, first and foremost. Oakland County, you guys spoke about team. We're a team. I hear the term about they can land softly. They were standing on solid ground. They were standing on solid ground. Our nurses are the most talented of all the nurses. And I can say that because I have witnessed what they have done. You guys talk about these young people that we work with. Y'all call them residents. They're young people. I live in the community with them. I have seen our nurses have the young people understand that they need to take vitamins. They need to eat properly. They are doing more than just passing meds or just looking at a boo-boo. These nurses are educating our young people. Then I hear you guys talk about the Michigan Nursing Union. If that union is so great, why we have a shortage of nurses? Why can't they pull in more nurses? MATE has been with the nurses from point A when they called me and said, we losing our jobs. I said, what are you talking about? If we're a team, why wasn't the coach brought in? If we're a team. So please, watch how y'all use certain terms around here because you're not standing on the firmness of these terms you're using. This is ridiculous. My nurses now have to land softly because one person have an idea that she is a grand master of nurses and her plan makes everything better. They have yet to tell us what did our nurses do to cause this. You said it was a problem. No one have yet to identify the problem. Only we heard was it was a problem a year ago. The nurse supervisor was suspended. She was terminated. And the problem's still there. How's the problem still there then? So you trying to tell me that the scare tactics they've been using about our kids dying, you trying to say that Oakland County will leave a group of nurses in place for over a year and there's a safety to their health? Are we that kind of county? I'm just gonna put it on record. I am sorely disappointed in the health department, HR, labor, for not coming to us and have a conversation like a team's supposed to. For the guys play football, offensive line, defensive line, we're gonna communicate. I may be big enough, I may need to move to the offensive line. The coach is gonna come and talk to me and let me know how everything works. Not to talk to the nurses and let them know what their problem is. That's shame on you guys, period. I did not know I worked for this type of county at all. I did not know, and I'm pretty sure if the public knew, they can't believe they live in a county that would make these type of decisions at all. All these taxpayers, it's ridiculous.
Thank you.
Good morning, Kristen Nelson, Oakland County Commissioner. To all of our public health nurses, thank you for your unwavering compassion and dedication You are the heart of our healthcare system, and I am grateful for the care and support that you do every single day. As a behavioral health clinician and having two sisters who are registered nurses, I can understand your frustration and your concern. I believe these proposed changes are unfair and unrealistic, and I don't support them. Not only am I choosing to put employees first, all of you, I'm putting children under your care first. Lastly, this body has continuously heard from our HR department that employee satisfaction and retention is a high priority. And yet, again, here we are, faced with another recommendation that contradicts these values. And that is disappointing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment? Seeing none, public comment is closed. This concludes the business of our meeting today, so I will adjourn the meeting at,
One moment.
oh, yes,
I didn't realize that we were in public comment.
yes. All right, Mr. Love, 3 minutes.
I don't even take 3 minutes. I'm just trying to understand what's wrong with Oakland County. Is it the water? People drinking the water? We got Brooksea Tower headquarters down here. It's creme de la creme. They fixed it all up. And now we want to have Coulter Tower down in Pontiac for $12 million. That's just to buy the place and then to fixing it up. What, is it growing on trees here? I mean, this is just outrageous. There's no sense to it. I can't understand why you want to move out of the palace down into the combat zone. You got money to burn. It's just beyond belief. I wish there was some hope, but maybe the drinking the water is bad.
Thank you. There's no other business to come before this committee, and the committee is adjourned at 9:40. Thank you, everyone.
Charlie. Okay, so we need OCC again. Okay. Parks directors here, so let me see.